When did you realise that you'd hit rock bottom?
I don't know how deep I want to go into it.
Roxie Nafousi,
Roxie Nafousi, the manifesting queen, is a self-development coach,
2-time Sunday Times best-selling author,
an expert in the art of manifesting your destiny.
So there was this study that found that we have on average 60,000 thoughts a day. Now 85% of those thoughts are said to be negative. And of those negative thoughts, 90% are said to be repetitive. I created this really unique 7-step guide to manifesting. Manifesting, it's actually just about making the life you have feel as good as it can possibly be and becoming the person that you want to become. By the age of 12, I was already suffering from depression. And then when I was 18, I discovered cocaine. By the time I was 21, I was in my first Narcotics Anonymous meeting. It was, without doubt, the hardest, most traumatizing time of my life.
Hi, I'm Abbey CLANCY and welcome to Exhibit A. Today, we've got the queen of manifesting, the wonderful, the gorgeous Roxie Nafousi.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm so good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for coming on. I know just off camera there, you give me a little bit of a pep talk because I've had the bad start to the day. So thank you for that. We're going to start with a few quick fire to loosen up. Okay, are you an early bird or a night owl?
Absolutely an early bird. I'm honestly in bed by 9 p.m. most nights.
Same. I love that though.
Nothing better.
Nothing better. And you get up feeling fresh and ready for the day.
Yeah.
City lights or starry nights?
Ooh. Shit. I'm a city girl, I think. Yeah. Although now I feel like as I'm getting older, maybe we're moving into starry nights.
What does happiness mean to you?
Simple pleasures in beautiful places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree. The last thing you learned that fascinated you?
Jeez, I wasn't prepared for these. The last thing I learned that fascinated me, I think this wasn't the last thing I learned, and it's something that we'll talk about probably, but I remember the first time I learned that you can only have one thought at a time. And when I realized that we had so much power in our minds to choose the way that we think. And it's such a simple and obvious thing. And yet when you really think about it, you're like, oh, light bulb moment.
God, that is so interesting. Because I think of a million things at once.
Yeah.
You know, my husband definitely has one thought at a time, or even none, in fact. But God, I'm going to try and do that, see. Your 3 dream dinner guests.
Oh. Brené Brown. She's an amazing speaker that really inspired me. My son, Wolf, because honestly, he's nearly 5 and his chats just keep me entertained all day long. And, oh my God. Paul McCartney, because I grew up listening to the Beatles.
Amazing.
Maybe he'd give us a rendition.
Oh God, that would be amazing. It's funny with my son's 10 and 5 on Sunday actually, and it's the difference in his speech and his conversations. He's asked for a gold chain for his birthday.
Incredible.
He wants a gold chain and a gold bracelet.
Oh my God, stop.
And he wants lizards in his party and a kimono dragon, but he has full-blown conversations with me now, and it's just hilarious. Your favourite book, other than your own, of course?
Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers.
And what's that about?
It's about really, I think, about taking responsibility for your life. And I think when I read it, it really took me out of victim mentality and taught me to take responsibility, step outside my comfort zone. And it was the first self-help book I read, and it really started me, I think, on this journey.
Okay. How do you define success?
Being content and at peace with yourself.
Yeah.
And being able to enjoy simple things in life and not needing to chase these kind of big things like money or, you know, achievements. I think you're really successful when you're able to just be happy with who you are.
So you are the author of 3 incredible books, Manifest, Dive Deeper, and Manifest for Kids. And you seem to have it all together. Is that the case? Because I know you had quite a rough start early on, which I'd like to dive a bit deeper into.
Yeah, you know, I always think that nobody's ever the finished product. And I think the healing journey is ongoing. But do I feel like I have it all together right now? Yes. I can honestly say that I do. I'm really in the happiest place I've ever been. And I feel so grateful for it because there are so many times in my life where I thought it would never, ever be possible for me just to feel happiness or even an ounce of confidence. And so, I can. And I hope that I'm living proof that, manifestation and inner work does work. You really can change your life.
So let's go back to the beginning, to baby Roxy. Talk me through your childhood.
So I would say that my childhood I had a pretty unsafe emotional environment that I grew up in. And I don't talk often about my childhood, but I wasn't really given a good chance to build any kind of self-worth. I think I had very complicated parents, and I won't go deep into it, but it was tough. There was absolutely no emotional safety. And
what do you mean? Is that like no affection, or you felt you couldn't speak to them? Or?
There was, I don't know how deep I want to go into it. It's hard to talk about sometimes because they're still alive, and I don't want to disrespect them. But my mum has a lot of mental health issues, and my dad is hyper intelligent, but completely void of emotion. Yeah. So there was absolutely no love at all, and there was a lot of anger and rage, and it was not a happy home, and I think that, now having a young child, I really see how bad it was. And I can't imagine treating Wolf the way that I was treated, or giving him that kind of environment to grow up in. And then I went to school but got really horrifically bullied because I was an Iraqi growing up in Oxford. And when the Iraqi war broke out, Islamophobia was massive. I mean, really everybody was treating all Muslims like they were terrorists. And my mom was a very devout Muslim and, would wear a headscarf to pick me up from school. And I remember just feeling so ashamed of my heritage, so embarrassed of where I was from. So didn't feel comfortable in my own culture and who I was, but then I was also being completely rejected by my peers. And so this all kind of led to this real deep feeling that I wasn't enough as I was, and that I wasn't lovable and I wasn't good enough. And I changed my name at the age of 12 when I moved schools from Rowan, which is my real name, to Roxy.
And why was that?
I wanted to go to this new school, and I didn't want people to automatically realize that I was Arabic. I was really trying to hide who I was. And I think that's when I really, that's when I started rejecting myself. And looking back, by the age of 12, I was already suffering from depression, but people weren't talking about mental health the way they are now. So I definitely wasn't aware of that. But without doubt, I was suffering depression from, I would say, 9, 10 up until very recently.
How did your mum and dad feel about you changing your name and kind of trying to hide your roots?
I don't know, I think I was very headstrong, and I'd made my decision. And I think my dad, probably more so than my mum, understood that, we were growing up in the Western world, and he understood why I might want to do that. They still call me Rowan at home. So, I always say I'm like Rowan at home and Roxy in public. But then I formed disordered eating when I was at school. I was obsessed with trying to get attention from boys. I was very lost. And then when I was 18, I moved straight to London. I went to Goldsmiths University to study psychology, and I discovered cocaine. And as soon as I had a line of coke, I felt a confidence I'd never felt before. And that to me is what became so addictive. And by the time I was 21, I was in my first NA, Narcotics Anonymous meeting. So my addiction formed really quickly, and really early on, I knew I had a problem.
What does it feel like, addiction? How did you know it was an addiction? And, not just recreational. There's a lot of people who go out for fun over weekends and do drugs and drink alcohol, but how does addiction feel?
It's such a good question. I think that for me, I mean, I knew I had a problem because I was getting like frantic about taking drugs. And if I didn't have drugs on me, I was turning into someone I didn't know. I was doing it a lot on my own. I was doing it when no one else was doing it. And
were you secretive about this? Were you doing it in secret or?
You know, when you have lots of different groups of friends, you can always hide. It's quite easy to hide an addiction because one night you can be out with one group of friends and the next night you can go out with another and no one knows how bad it is. But I would never tell people I'd be doing it on my own, of course. And there are a few kind of occasions where I had just a very bad period and I knew I need help. And I knew people older than me who were sober and who were kind of saying, this is probably a good idea that you go and get help. But I didn't actually give up at that time. I ended up getting much worse. And I didn't give up until I fell pregnant when I was 28. So there was a good 7 years of knowing I had a problem. And with that comes a lot of shame, a lot of self-loathing. And those years were quite traumatic in themselves because I just hated myself. I was either high and doing things that I regretted or I was on a come down. So it was a really dark place to be.
So when did you realize that you'd hit rock bottom?
Yeah, so yoga was one thing that had been like a real consistent throughout my 20s. And I think that I found that the yoga mat was like my safe space and I would often cry. And I started it just because I had really bad back problems. So I started this yoga called Iyengar yoga, which is really about posture and it's really slow. Anyway, in one of my, I'm going to give up drugs and change my life, and of which I had many, in one of them, I decided to just go book a yoga teacher training course in Thailand. And I was like, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to become a yoga teacher. And so I went away and I knew I was going to have 1 month of no drugs, no cigarettes. You know, I was smoking over 20 a day at the time. I couldn't even eat meat. I would be meditating for, hours a day, doing 200 hours of yoga. And I thought, this is going to be it. And obviously before that trip, knowing I was about to go sober, I kind of went on a massive binge, turned up really feeling horrendous, went on, and it was a tough month. I think a lot of like emotions were being stirred up, but I was really hopeful that I would change my life.
Well, it must be important to get rid of like these toxic people because obviously the people you were around were doing the same thing.
Definitely.
So that's a hard thing if you've got no escape from them.
Yeah, of course.
So the thought of going away, different country, clean slate.
Exactly. And I thought, this is it. This is my time to reset. So I flew back to London after a month, feeling like a new person, ready to start my yoga teaching career. And a friend called me and she was like, I'm going to this art dinner tonight. Do you want to come? And I was like, yeah, great. So I go and she goes, oh, meet me at my hotel. I'll meet you there. So I get to her hotel. It was about 4:00 and she pulls out a bag of Coke and goes, do you want a line? And I went, yeah, go on then. And then I ended up going on a 48-hour bender. I did so many things I regret during that period of time. It was...
And at that point, did you not have, did it no voice pop into your head and be like, you've done so well, you've been a month sober?
You'd think. You'd think. And I think that's why after I woke up after that kind of episode, that's why I felt it's such rock bottom.
Yeah.
Because I was like, fuck, if that's not going to help save me and change me, what will? So I really felt like I was a lost cause or like there was no hope.
Yeah.
And so I called a friend of mine, and this friend, I would say she's quite spiritually inclined. And I said, Sophia, what shall I do? And she said, oh, babe, don't worry about it. I just listened to this podcast on something called manifesting. You should listen. And I was like, fuck it, I'll try anything. So I listened to this podcast and something in me clicked. And what clicked was that manifesting, which to define to anyone listening is using the power of your mind to change and create the reality you experience.
Because your mind is so powerful.
So
in a good
powerful.
way and bad.
Absolutely.
Negative thoughts, catastrophizing can completely... I am guilty of that myself.
Yeah.
It's something I definitely, I've told you before, definitely struggle with, controlling those thoughts. So
yeah.
It's so hard to control. So that's incredible that you could, that something did click and you could do it.
Absolutely. And what kind of had clicked was that this manifesting that I'd kind of was really new to me. It was all about your self-worth and how you felt about yourself. So the kind of the secret of manifesting is this: you manifest what you subconsciously believe you are worthy of receiving. So we attract into our lives what we believe we are worthy of.
Okay.
And I had no self-worth. So in that moment, I realized that actually, yeah, I was manifesting, but as you kind of just said, in the wrong direction. Yeah. So I was keeping myself stuck in this place. But I felt this glimmer of hope that finally I could take control back of my life, and actually maybe I could make a change. And so I went home and I started researching everything I could on the practice. And 2 weeks later, on the 7th of June, 2018, a man named Wade messaged me on a dating app. And a year to the day, on the 7th of June, 2019, our baby boy Wolf was born.
Oh my God. That is incredible.
Yeah.
So did you feel like he saved you as well? Were you kind of on this journey for yourself, your relationship, your baby?
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, it wasn't plain sailing, because once I got pregnant, I had met Wade, and I mean, it was quite a whirlwind. I was like, oh my God, I've manifested you. And I was so in love. But I was still in my addiction at the time. I was secretly doing coke on all our dates, and I wasn't in the best place, but I was trying, you know, to like change. And I'd gone 3 weeks without doing drugs that summer, which was like the longest I'd done. And I was kind of still trying to just introduce myself to the self-development world and manifestation. And then suddenly 3 months later, I find out I'm 6 weeks pregnant. So I was like, wait a second, fuck. I'm having a baby with a man I don't know. Yeah. I've got no money. He's got no money. What am I going to do? Like, this is not what I was manifesting. And when I found out I was pregnant, I obviously had to give up everything straight away. And
how did you find that?
It was, without doubt, the hardest, most traumatizing time of my life. 28 years of pain came rushing through because I had no escape anymore. You know, I'd been using drugs and cigarettes and alcohol as a crutch for so long. Yeah. And now I didn't have that. So I turned to binge eating. I gained 30 kilos, like 5 stone. I stopped leaving the house. It was a very, very dark time.
How did you deal with that mentally? Because obviously at this point, you're not out of your self-loathing and self-doubt, and to gain a lot of weight so quick, body changes naturally through pregnancy. That must have had an effect on your mental health as well.
It was horrendous. I think every day was like a real struggle to be alive. It built a resilience in me that actually I think has been part of the reason why I've been successful since. But that pain became my driving force. I kept thinking, when I have this baby, I'm going to change my life and make it the best it can be. And I'm going to use manifestation to do that. So while I kind of was locked away inside, I was reading and researching absolutely everything that I could on this practice and on self-development as a whole. Yeah. And figuring out how I was going to heal myself. And, you know, everything changed the day Wolfie was born. And I always say, you know, he is my lucky charm. Everything good that's ever happened in my life has happened since he came into it.
There's a lot of people who are skeptical about manifesting. Yeah. And a lot of people think, you know, if I just, you know, visualize a Bentley, I'm going to get one, or I'm going to visualize going out with Brad Pitt. He's going to come knocking on my door. How does it work? Yeah. And what would you say to those skeptics out there who are seeking to change their life but don't know where to start?
So, firstly, I completely understand why people are so skeptical about manifesting. And I think that's because it's become really trendy. Yeah. And when things become a trend, they actually get really devalued. And people are using the term in kind of common language. So they'll be like, oh, I've just manifested this coffee, or I just manifested this handbag. And they're kind of using it in a way where it's not been being used correctly. And so people aren't understanding what it actually means. And if I didn't know about it, I would probably also be cynical. I have to say, like, whenever I meet someone and I'm like, you know, they don't know me and they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm an author. And they say, oh, what do you write about? And I'm like, manifesting. I like kind of cringe a bit myself because I'm like, oh, fuck, I know that they...
Well, I cringe when people ask me what I do. I'm like, I don't even know what I am, a podcaster. I just hate the word podcast. You know, I'm like, oh, it's so cringe. And I feel like as soon as you mention the word, people just shut down. Yeah. But there are those buzzwords around. around. Definitely.
Totally. It's so true. I think it's how influencers feel about the word influencer.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So, so I get it. I get why people are cynical around it. And it's because there's a lot of misconceptions. And the misconceptions, as you said, are that it's just about visualizing what you want, or that it's this really passive practice, which is kind of like wishful thinking.
Yeah.
And it's not that at all. So I created this really unique 7-step guide to manifesting, which for anybody that reads this book, they'll kind of see it's extremely practical. It's not spiritual. It's not woo. It's actually a practice that is about it's about knowing what you want, getting clear on your goals, becoming so empowered and full of self-belief that you're brave enough to go after them.
Yeah.
It's about taking action. It's about stepping outside your comfort zone. It's about persisting through challenges, embracing gratitude. It's a really full practice that actually helps you to live better day to day. And it really isn't about attracting things, although that is the cherry on top. It's actually just about making the life you have feel as good as it can possibly be, and becoming the person that you want to becoming your most confident or highest self.
Yeah.
So absolutely everyone and anyone can use this practice to better their lives.
Even the kids.
Even the kids.
I love this kids one because I think there's so much pressure on kids now and so much influence from social media, and it's so scary. But instilling in kids from a very, very young age that they are worthy, they are enough, they are confident, bold, strong, beautiful, if you like, anything that they want to be is so powerful. Like I do this with my kids at home and the vision boards, and they absolutely love it, especially my daughter who thinks she's God's gift anyway.
I love that.
My second daughter, she's like super confident, but I love it. And just being around her, she has a positive effect in the room and on everyone else's mood. And I think, like with the Manifest book, the original, and this, if you change your thought process, think positively, you're a better person.
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely. I think, your mindset is everything.
Yeah.
And the Marissa Peer, who's a great kind of hypnotherapist and leader that I love listening to, she always says, your brain's job is to make your thoughts a reality. And it's so true. What you focus the most on, you do make true.
But that's scary if you're in a negative place in your head.
Yeah, I think it can be. And I definitely always, I try to put a disclaimer because I do often get asked, shit, like I'm sometimes having like negative thoughts, or as parents sometimes we can have those like horrible like panics about our children, or we have intrusive thoughts or things like that.
I suffer terrible from that.
It's horrible.
Health anxiety for the kids, and it's out of control. I think what I've been doing is kind of every negative thought I have, switching it to a positive one.
Yeah, that's exactly
gratitude.
What to do.
You're worried your kid's going to get ill. Look at them; they're healthy. Be thankful for that. Be grateful, and it definitely helps.
100%. I mean, we have this thing called neuroplasticity, which is our brain's ability to form new neural pathways through repeated thought and action. So we can change the way that we think.
Yeah.
So there was this study that found that we have on average 60,000 thoughts a day. Now, 85% of those thoughts are said to be negative. And of those negative thoughts, approximately 90% are said to be repetitive.
Yeah.
Which means that we're creatures of habit, not just in what we do, but in the way that we think. So our subconscious, which really is accounting for 95% of our brain's activity, is just kind of going on a loop. It's even when we're not conscious of it, but as we're going about our day, we have these negative thoughts just kind of looping. And this can feel really scary when it comes to manifesting, because you're like, shit, if I'm having so many negative thoughts,
is something
am I
going to happen?
attracting a lot of negative things to me? I would say that that's not the case, because we don't manifest just from a thought alone. So it's not enough to think something and then it's going to happen. We manifest from our belief system, and a belief is a thought that's been repeated so many times that it becomes so. Yeah. So let's say that you have always thought to yourself, I'm not smart, I'm not smart. And that's just something that you loop. And every time you're in an important meeting, that thought is coming back to you. I'm not intelligent enough. I'm not clever enough, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
When you've thought that enough, it becomes a belief. Now, our belief systems are really, really important to us because they become the filter through which we view the whole world.
God.
So to kind of give you an example of this. So let's imagine you have two different people and both people are in the same party and they meet someone new for the first time and they have a 5-minute conversation with them. One of these people has a belief that they are not good with people, that they're not likable, that they're not good in new environments, or and they don't have much self-belief.
Yeah.
Imagine the other person is full of confidence. Maybe it's your daughter. They really trust that they are like good with meeting new people, comfortable in new environments, and generally have really good positive self-image. These two people have different beliefs. They're having the same interaction and they're going to come away from that interaction with a completely different perspective. Yeah. So the person with low self-worth or that has those beliefs that they aren't good enough or not good at social situations, they're going to misread the social cues, misread the body language, misread the tone. And in response, they might then become a bit defensive. They might come across as rude and therefore they probably will become unlikable. Yes. So they create this self-fulfilling prophecy. Whereas the person that has this positive self-image will probably walk away and just be like, that was great. Yeah. And that's it. So our belief systems are really more important than our thoughts because what we believe affects how we perceive the world around us, how we behave, and therefore what we create. But we can change our belief systems because of this.
How can we change it?
So there's loads of different techniques that I share in the book, but a lot of it is to do with changing your language and starting with having awareness of your thoughts. So if we know that a belief is a thought that's become repeated so many times, and we know that we have so many negative thoughts a day, we first have to start becoming more aware. Yeah. So day to day, anybody that's listening, I really encourage them to actually just start checking in with what they're thinking after any experience they're having. So let's say I walk away from this podcast at the end, that's probably when my negative inner critic might want to start saying something to me. It might want to say, oh my God, you really fucked up in that bit and you weren't good enough there. But I've got to start being aware of those thoughts before I let them kind of snowball into something bigger. And when I become aware of them, I can use something like an affirmation to stop them in its tracks. So I told you at the very beginning that you can only have one thought at a time. And this is why positive affirmations are such a powerful tool for us to use. So an affirmation could be something like, I'm worthy, I'm enough, I love the person that I'm becoming, I'm calm, I'm at peace, I'm strong, anything. And you can kind of have a list of your favorite affirmations and you can have them as a kind of tool to use whenever these negative thoughts start coming in. So let's say I was leaving this and I was thinking, oh my God, I wasn't good enough. I could stop and say something like, I did my best and that is enough. Yeah. Now, the reason these work is because our subconscious can't differentiate a truth from a lie. So whatever you tell it, it will believe to be true. So if I say to myself, let's say you're feeling really anxious. Okay, I
am today.
Yeah, okay, right. So you're feeling anxious. You know that you're feeling anxious. You're probably having some anxious ruminating thoughts. It's probably snowballing. Yeah. So you can stop and you can say to yourself, I am calm and at peace. And you can keep repeating that to yourself. And your subconscious will trust that to be true. It doesn't matter if you don't mean it. Whatever you tell your brain, whatever you say to yourself, your subconscious will trust to be true. And it will always try to make that a reality. So as you're saying to yourself, I am calm and at peace, I'm calm and at peace, and your subconscious starts to believe that, your actual physiology will change. Yeah. So your heart rate might slow down. You might stop, the perspiration. Yeah. Your breathing will become more controlled. And so
for people who want to start this but feel maybe silly saying these things to themselves or are feeling that low, they can't even think of one positive thing to say about themselves. Where do they start?
So I think it's completely...
It's hard to do, isn't it?
Look, it's so natural to feel silly when we're saying them. And I always think that's kind of amazing to realize that even saying something kind to ourselves in our heads is that hard for us.
It's harder than a negative.
Much harder.
Because it's easy to look in the mirror and go, oh my God, I look so old. I
Yeah.
look haggard. It's so much harder to look in the mirror and go, God, I look amazing today.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever done that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I mean, oh my God, if you haven't done that,
No,
what have
but
the rest of us got?
I don't know. But we should. That's the things we should be
Absolutely.
saying to ourselves.
We really should.
Because we say it to our friends, we say it to our kids.
Yeah.
You know, but we're always kind of last on the list when it comes to those positive affirmations.
Totally. And I think, this work isn't easy, and I think it's not easy to start changing the way that you think.
Yeah.
And that's okay. This is going to take an effort, and it's going to take you feeling a bit uncomfortable. And you don't have to say it, looking in the mirror, because some people do find they feel silly. But look, if that's you and you feel really uncomfortable, the more uncomfortable you feel, the more you need it.
More you need it.
And so I think it's starting slow. So it doesn't have to be, I'm incredible, I love who I am. It could just be, I'm strong.
Yeah.
I can handle challenges.
You're doing great.
I'm doing the best I can. Start with things like that. Start slow. Try it once a day. Then try and do it a few times a day. I love doing affirmations first thing when I wake up.
Yeah.
So the reason.
So talk me through your day. What are you doing? You wake up.
So I wake up, and the very, very first thing I do is repeat a positive affirmation. And the reason why is because our brain is most susceptible to positive messaging at 3 times of the day. As we're waking up,
Yeah.
as we're falling asleep, and when we're in a meditative state. So these are really key times for us to change our belief systems and to really kind of like flood our brains with this positive messaging. So when I'm waking up, I know I've got these like magical few moments that are going to impact the rest of my day.
Yeah.
So for everyone listening, I really challenge you to do this. Think of an affirmation. So it could be, today is going to be an incredible day. I'm excited for what's ahead of me. I'm open to all opportunity. And as soon as you open your eyes, just repeat it to yourself in your head.
So after reading your book, I've actually been doing that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Wake up in the morning, the positive affirmations, and 100% for anyone listening, I can guarantee it makes a difference. Where I go wrong is when something goes wrong, trying to pull it back into that positive headspace. That's where I struggle. What advice would you give for anyone who feels the same way as I do?
Yeah. So I think, it's really easy for us to kind of start our day with a good habit, like you've said, but actually where the work really comes in is when things start going wrong. So I think it's such a good point to make. I think there's lots of tools that you can use. And I always think of it like a mental health toolbox. So it's like, what can I do? And what tools can I get really well practiced at on good days so that when a bad day comes, I know what to do. I remember someone once said to me, don't wait till you're having a panic attack to learn to meditate.
Yeah.
Right. So there's loads of different things we can start learning to do. So for example, we can use a really simple breathing exercise. And when something bad happens, I think it's really easy for us to immediately get quite het up. We start panicking. And when we start breathing in a certain way, we're actually sending a message to our brain that something's wrong, that we're panicked, because there's this constant conversation between our body and our brains. But we also have an opportunity where we can trick our brains into feeling calmer about a situation by slowing down our breathing. So I would suggest a breathing technique like inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. So you imagine it like a box. It's called box breathing. So when we start to do a few minutes of breathing like this, it's so easy to do.
How many times do you have to do that?
Honestly, within 60 seconds, you'll feel a shift.
Okay.
So what I would say to anybody is that don't wait till you're feeling like something is going wrong for you to practice this. Practice box breathing. It will take you 1 minute of your day. Try it from today, a minute a day. And then the next time something goes wrong, start with that as like a first kind of tool to use. Just to tell your brain, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm calm. And then it's all about, for me personally, it's all about perspective shifts. So anytime we have any kind of experience, the way that we're perceiving it determines how we feel about it. So let's say that I get an email from somebody, a potential client, and it's really short and abrupt. My low self-worth brain might think,
they didn't like me.
They don't like me. What have I done? I'm going to lose the job.
Yeah.
Clearly, you know, and I'll start catastrophizing and I'll make it really personal and I'll get really upset about it and I'll feel upset and I'll feel anxious. But then I can stop and I can think, what is another reason for this email? What could be any other reason that has nothing to do with me? Okay, it could be that they're really busy, that they've wrote it in a rush. It could be that they're having a really terrible day. And just by being able to give myself at least one or two other perspectives, I'm able to minimize my brain's kind of desire to make it about me and to put my own limiting beliefs on that situation.
God, that is so... Yeah, because they could be so confident in the job and go, she's perfect, she's great, short email, and you'll be at home thinking, oh my God, they hate me. That is such a good point. Can we do a little demo of the box breathing? Because I think this is such a valuable tool for people to have to help them through certain situations and before these situations even happen, as you said.
Yeah, of course. Okay,
let's do it.
All right, so you can close your eyes if you want. Okay, so inhale through your nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Good.
I actually feel my heart rate slowing down.
Yeah.
It definitely works.
I think our breath is so powerful.
Yeah.
I'd actually gone to see a breathing doctor. Well, no, I went to go see a functional medicine doctor once. And I said...
What's a functional medicine doctor?
It's a doctor who will look at like all different things rather than just using Western medicine. Okay. So it's a bit more of a holistic approach. And I'd gone to see him and I said, I've got all these problems. I've got these back problems. I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling this. And he looked at me and just said, you're just breathing wrong. And this is all your problems are because you're breathing always out of your mouth. And I'm convinced it's because I did so much cocaine that I used to have such a blocked nose all the time. I never learned to breathe out my nose. But like, I didn't realize that, you know, the way you breathe has such an impact on how you feel, your energy, your well-being.
Like my husband's got polyps. So he cannot breathe. He's had 3 operations to remove them. It's literally like bunch of grapes in all your sinuses. It's awful. And the amount of problems he's had from not being able to breathe properly, like, you know, clenching his jaw ache, waking himself up, headaches, like just your quality of life. So breathing is definitely, if you can do it right, is
100%.
good. I want to talk about the 7 steps that you talk about in your book. Can you talk us through each one, please?
Okay. So step 1 is be clear in your vision. Essentially, you can't get to where you want to go unless you know where it is you are headed. So this really is all about getting clarity on your goals, on where you want to be in your life, and on who you want to become.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important question in the manifesting journey. Who do I want to become? Most of us have an idea in our mind. So we know we want to become a more confident version of ourselves, a more empowered, perhaps a healthier version of ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think getting clear on that at the beginning is so important. And there are 2 practices that I really recommend for people to get to use this practice. One of them is creating a vision board, and one is doing visualization meditations.
So what's a vision board?
So a vision board is a visual representation of what you want your life to be like. Okay. And you can either do one for 6 months, 1 year, or for 5 years.
Yeah, because these visions don't have to be what you want to be in 20 years. They could be who you want to be next week, who you want to be tomorrow. Because I think a lot of people would be put off with, oh God, I don't know what I want to do in 5 years' time. Exactly. It's like a 5-year plan. I'm like, God knows, you know.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's why you can choose different timelines.
Yeah.
The important thing is that you just try and get real like clarity on what you want your life to be like. And I've got like a step-by-step guide in the book. But I always kind of say to people, try and categorize your life into different sections. So, you know, there's romance, your home life, your career, your personal development. And within each category, think about what you want to achieve and try to be really detailed in that. So for me, my vision board is just bullet points. That's it. A lot of people mistake vision boards with like a board of like just lots of pretty pictures.
Yeah.
That to me is just a mood board. You know, it's an inspiration board and they're great, but a vision board needs detail so that our brain and our subconscious parts of our brain can start helping us reach them.
I don't know what would be on mine. I think for me, the personal development would be really important. You know, be a good person, be the best you can be healthy. Because I think if you're all those things in yourself, all the other aspects of your life will be better and flourish.
Yeah.
You'll be a better mom, you'll be a better wife or girlfriend. You'll have a better home life because you're happy and confident.
Oh my God, it all starts from within.
Definitely.
And so that kind of, I guess, leads us on to step 2, which is remove fear and doubt. So fear and doubt is a culmination of all our insecurities, low self-worth, limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
And all of us are riddled with them, you know. I think that we only need to like look at young kids who are so full of confidence to see how different it is. And I think what happens is that actually we're all born confident. You know, we're not self-conscious, we're not, you know, embarrassed. We're just so full of life and so authentic and so ourselves.
Well, I see that with my own kids, you know, from babies to my eldest is 13. That kind of confident, like, you know, babies to be dancing naked, singing a song, standing on a box, like jumping up and down. And that confidence diminishes year on year, you know, whether it's from their peers, being in school, you know, feeling like they don't fit in, whatever. And it is sad. It is a sad thing to watch.
It really is.
But I think that's why the kids' book's great for that, because you can keep it topped up.
That's what we want.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly. It's really hard. I think, you know, we all start one way and then life happens to us.
Yeah.
And I think to varying extents, essentially, we just come to believe at some point early on that we're not enough as we are. And then we just keep compounding that belief throughout our lives and finding evidence to support that.
Yeah.
Until I think we reach a point where we're just exhausted by it. We're exhausted by feeling like we're not enough. We're exhausted with this feeling of like constant insecurity. And then the healing journey begins. And removing fear and doubt is an important part of the manifestation process because of what I said earlier about, you know, the secret of manifesting is that we manifest what we subconsciously believe we are worthy of receiving. So you can think about your perfect partner and visualize them and do that all you want. But if you don't believe you're worthy of unconditional love, you won't be able to attract that partner into your life. Yeah. And so this is the part of the practice that makes manifestation really a self-development practice. It's not just about, like I say, visualizing something and attracting a thing. It's about becoming happier within yourself. Yeah. And so remove fear and doubt is, there's always 2 parts of it. I think part of it is like these daily kind of practices that you can do day to day. Like we just talked about the positive affirmations, changing the language you use, changing the perspectives you have of things.
What about changing the people you're with? Because, you know, there's people who you might get up, get dressed, feel great, and your friend walks in and go, oh, I don't like that dress on you. Or, oh, you put a bit of weight on. And that could be your mom, your dad, your cousin, best friend. How important is it to remove those toxic people in that second stage of fear and doubt?
I think it's a really important part of it. I think that, you know, we are so influenced by the people around us. And I think it's about understanding how you can set healthy boundaries. So for some people listening, they'll definitely have someone like that in their life, but it's a family member. So they can't just cut them out. So if you can cut them out, do. If you can't, it's about finding when you can spend time with that person. So I always say, if you are having a day where you're already feeling a bit insecure, maybe you're just tired, you've had a long week, being around that person is not going to be good for you because you know they're going to make a comment that's going to get you. But when you're in a space where you know you're feeling good, you know you're not going to be affected by them, you can just, ahead of meeting them, I know know they're going to make a few comments and I'm just going to let that go. I'm going to let it brush off me. And you feel in a position where you're powerful enough to do that, then that's probably a better time to spend time with that person. And it's about practicing slowly saying no and getting comfortable with the discomfort of saying no.
Well, people find it hard to say no.
Because we are so obsessed with needing to be liked.
Yeah.
You know, it's so core within us. And it's a real journey to be able to free yourself and understand that the thing that did it for me was when I thought about every celebrity or speaker that I was inspired by. For as many people as there are that love and admire those people, there are just as many who can't stand them.
Yeah.
Nobody is liked by everyone.
No.
And I think when I figured that out, I felt this sense of freedom. I felt so liberated. I was like, oh my God, no one can be liked by anyone.
Yeah.
So I might as well just be myself.
Of course.
And it is a practice. It's practicing being able to be yourself and do what's right for you. And it doesn't make you selfish.
No, it doesn't. And I think when you are around people and you're being yourself, you do feel your most happiest.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
as I've got older, my friendship group has got smaller because, but I know every single one of those people are fantastic and love me the way I am. If I'm kicking off, if I'm happy, sad, moody, tired, they will love me regardless. And I think that elimination process as you get older is so liberating. And, you know, being the most authentic form of yourself is your happy place, I think.
100%. I always think every person we have in our lives, we bring out a different side of ourselves with. So you're different with your husband than you are with your kids or your friends or even two of your different friends. Everyone brings out a different side of you. Which side of you do you love? Like, who do you feel like brings out a side of you that you love? And there will be multiple people because we have lots of different sides of ourselves. Yeah. But there might be someone in your life that actually brings out a side of you that you don't love. Yeah. That they make me feel on edge. They make me feel defensive. They make me feel insecure. So it's a really important question when we're trying to decipher, you know, who should be taking up space in our lives.
So step 3 and 4 is aligning your behavior and tests from the universe. So what does that mean?
Okay, so aligning your behavior is all about taking action. So this is essentially about doing the work you need to do to reach your goals.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to manifest a new house, it's about making sure that you're searching through all the, you know, real estate brochures or websites, or who's got brochures anymore?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Websites or Rightmove, wherever
Online
the fuck it
brochures.
is.
I was looking at some of them today.
Or if you've got like a goal at work, it's making sure that you're taking all the steps that you can to reach that. And so this is really about stepping outside your comfort zone, but it's also about showing up as your future self.
Yeah.
So doing what your future self would do. And so I sometimes like to think that my future self is a character and I can step into that character. Yeah. So let's say that I'm going to go on stage and I'm feeling a bit nervous. I can think.
Do you feel nervous when you go on stage because you're speaking in front of thousands of people?
No, I don't now. I love it.
Oh, I would die.
But in the beginning, I did. I remember like I would get jelly legs and like I would really, for the first 10 minutes, my voice would be so shaky. But what I'd use this tool. So I would think to myself, okay, I want to imagine myself 3 years from now. And I want to imagine me walking on stage full of confidence.
Yeah.
My voice would be calm. I wouldn't be shaky. I'd feel so at ease talking on stage. So I'd visualize before I went on that version of me. And then I would essentially try and step into that character.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to be that person. I'm going to show up as them. And it really helped me. So you can use that tool when you're going on a date that you're nervous about, when you're going in for a promotion, when you're asking for a pay rise, whatever it is. Step into the character of your future self. You know, it kind of takes you out of that person
it makes
that
sense,
you are. Yeah,
definitely.
And this step is also about looking at your habits. You know, what are you doing day to day? How are you treating yourself? You know, are you moving your body? Are you fueling it? And I do think, you know, when it comes to mental health, and people often say to me, you know, I'm in a really rock bottom place. Where shall I start? And I often do say the place to start is with how you're feeding yourself, how you're nourishing yourself, and how you're moving your body.
Definitely.
It really is the starting point of any mental health journey.
And it is hard, but once you take that step
Yeah.
You know, even myself, like I haven't been in the gym for a few weeks and I had a PT this morning at 7 and it was hell, you know, but I feel great afterwards. And then you're like, when you've worked out, you think, oh, I don't want to eat something crap now. I want to eat something healthy. And then you want to put a nice outfit on because you feel like you feel better in your own skin. And it just has this positive spiral domino effect, I feel.
Well, it's also really powerful for us to do the things we say we'll do. So if you say to yourself, tomorrow I'm going to make sure I make my bed before I leave for work, and I'm going to make sure I go to the gym after
Do people
work.
not make the bed before they go to work?
I think some people don't.
Shut up. First step, make your bloody bed.
Make your bed and do the things you'll say you'll do. And that gives you a sense of confidence as well, because it means that you start building this like self-trust and self-respect.
And you're achieving something.
Yeah, exactly. So step 3 is all about being proactive. You can't think your way to success. You know, you have to do the work. Step 4 is overcome tests from the universe.
Which is what?
So the universe to me
Because that sounds...
It sounds woo.
It sounds woo.
Yeah. I get it. I might have turned some people off just there.
No, it's like when I thought I saw aliens a few weeks ago and everyone thought I was insane, which I didn't actually say was an alien, by the way. It was just a light on the A3. But anyway, so tests from the universe.
Okay.
So what is the test from the universe? Is that like you open the fridge door and the milk smashes on the floor?
That could be a test from the universe. Could be testing how much you've been practicing your affirmations.
Yeah, exactly.
The universe is an energetic force greater than ourselves. So everything in the universe is made up of energy. And I believe in the power of energy and that we can change our energy and that we can therefore change what we attract to us.
Okay.
But for some people, this is God. And for some people, it's a spiritual realm. So a universe means different things for different people. But essentially, it's just a higher power, let's say. Now, that can be spiritual, like I said. But for me, when I'm thinking about the energy of the universe, it doesn't feel as spiritual. I would say that I'm not a particularly spiritual person, but I still believe in the power of manifestation.
Yeah.
So I think that the universe provides us with tests when we're on the way to meeting our goals. And those tests are really asking, how worthy do you really think you are of receiving? So the easiest way to explain it is if you were trying to manifest a partner. So let's imagine that you've like got your vision board partner and all the qualities that you want in them. You know, you want them to be adventurous or funny, or you want to feel at home with them, and you know what the relationship is going to feel like. And then you've really worked on
You've missed heart off that. You've missed heart.
attractive.
Yeah.
Kind.
Yeah.
So you've got this visual person. You've worked on believing that you're worthy of love. You've done that. You've gone on that healing journey. You've aligned your behavior by going on dating apps or letting your friends set you up. And then you have a first date and it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I've manifested this person. They're perfect. And then they ghost you. And then 5 days later, they text you and they're like, what's up? This is a test. And the test is
Or
how...
a red flag.
Red flag and run, you know? And the test is kind of saying, how worthy do you really think you are? Are you going to settle for someone that's putting you
Absolutely
last?
not. A week of hell.
Exactly. Or are you going to say, no, I know I'm worth more than this. I'm going to close the door and create space for what's right for me to enter.
Yes.
And so this really is about... it's about saying no to whatever is not serving you and your future life and your best self and those goals that you first made on the vision board.
Yeah.
So basically, I always say to people, look in your life, where are you settling? You know, where are you settling for less than you deserve? We don't have an infinite amount of time and energy, you know.
But you wouldn't take being ghosted off your friends for 5 days?
No, exactly.
So you're not going to take it from this new dream man that you thought you manifested.
Exactly.
So I think I totally agree. You know, you shouldn't settle.
No.
And that should be for every aspect of your life.
Absolutely. And the problem is, the reason people do is because of low self-worth.
Yeah.
Because they think, oh, but if I give this thing up, will something better come? And then you stay stuck.
Yeah.
This step is also about persisting through challenges. It's about overcoming obstacles and really not being kind of deterred by rejection. You know, we're all going to face rejection. We all face hard times, but it's how quickly you can bounce back from it. So this is actually my favorite step, because this is the step that allows me to actually build resilience, stay strong, keep going when times are hard. And it doesn't let me be so like demotivated by tough times.
I've changed my title of that section to, as I'm getting older, it's just like, fuck them. That is my new motto. You know, if someone upsets you, someone doesn't show up for you how you want them to, fuck them.
Fuck them.
Let's move on.
I'm going to change when I reprint the book, step 4 is going to be retitled.
You're only worthy of saying fuck them, I think, when you're like getting old like me. So you've got a few years to go. Practicing gratitude, I think, is so valuable.
It is. So I would say that gratitude is the most powerful thing that we can do. If you did nothing else and you just practice gratitude, you would change your life.
Agreed.
So I think that manifesting is not about more. It's about making the life you have feel as good as possible. And the way that we do that is by starting to appreciate life's simple pleasures and paying attention to what's good.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, I love this chapter, even reading the chapter back sometimes, it makes me feel good. Yeah. So there's an exercise in it that I recommend, and I'll share it for your audience now.
Yeah, do it.
So it's called a positivity journal.
Okay.
So every night before bed, I ask people to write down in chronological order every good thing that happened to them from the minute they woke up to the minute they went to bed. So it might be, I woke up and the sun was shining. I liked the taste of my coffee. I heard the birds singing. Someone sent me an email that made me smile. I was the first in line at the post office.
Yeah.
You know, anything, whatever it is, write it down.
That's what I do with the kids as well. That's a good one for them.
It's in the kids' book as well. It's the what was the best part of the day.
Yeah, my teachers are doing it now.
Yeah,
like with the kids, like
brilliant.
You know, what was the best part of your day and the best thing you ate today. And
So you write it down. What you realize is that every single day is filled with these beautiful moments that otherwise go completely unnoticed. And sometimes we can have a bad hour or a bad morning and we can be like, oh, I had such a shit day. But actually you had a bad moment, and still around that, there were good moments. Now, when you do this gratitude practice regularly, and I always say, look, try it for 2 weeks and see what happens. Your brain will actually start looking for things to be grateful for. So you might walk past a building that you always walk past every day, and only then suddenly you notice, God, that is such a beautiful building.
So do you think it has like a scientific effect on your brain? Is that the right word? Scientific?
Yeah, we 100% we know, and there is so much research around the practice of gratitude and how it can improve sleep, anxiety, depression. It is a powerful tool, and having a consistent gratitude practice is the way to change your brain, to feel happier, to be more positive. The reason I particularly love this exercise is because every day is different. What people sometimes do with gratitude practices, they'll say 3 things I'm grateful for, and it's every day. My health, my family, my job. They get bored of writing the same thing every day, so they don't keep up the practice. And also they kind of do it without even like having feeling and thought behind it.
Yeah.
And the point is, we really want to sink into a deep feeling of appreciation. That's where kind of the magic happens. There's a phrase my mum always used to say to me in Arabic, which translates to, for every thanks you give, you get 1,000 in return. And this is truly how I would describe this step. The more grateful we are, the more good things that the universe will give us to be grateful for. So if you want, you know, being in an abundant mindset is like another part of the manifesting process. And an abundant mindset is where we believe there's enough for everyone. And the opposite of that is a scarcity mindset, where we're constantly feeling in lack, that we don't have enough. And when we can sit in an abundant mindset, we attract more abundance back into our lives. So
definitely.
Yeah, if everybody ignores everything I say and they just go away and do the positivity journal, I promise you will feel so good for it.
Yeah, no, I definitely recommend doing that. So I know we were just saying, I do the gratitude journal with my kids, and it's something they do in the school now. And I think, you know, for our listeners there who go, God, I haven't got enough hours in the day. You know, how can I do that? What advice would you give to them?
So I've been doing a gratitude practice with Wolf since he could communicate. And it's a really simple one that anyone can do with their kids.
Yeah.
And I've got it in the Manifest for Kids book as well. So at the end of every day, I always say, what was the best thing that happened today? And Wolf will tell me something. And then I'll say, and what was something else? And I keep going until he can't tell me anything.
Yeah.
Anything else. He's going to run. He's got all his things. And I think what happens is you're really kind of training them to look for the positives. It means they're always falling asleep as well with like good thoughts. And it's just a really simple, easy gratitude practice that takes you, a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
It's also so sweet. And now Wolf, as soon as we get into bed now, he goes, Mummy, what was your favorite thing today?
I know, it's so cute.
It's so sweet.
I do it when they're bath and bed.
Oh.
So I put all three of them, the three little ones in the bath together. We do, what's your favourite? And then they're, well, my favourite thing was this. And then they all get into bed and I feel like instantly they're relaxed.
Yeah.
They're going to have a good night's sleep. They've got positive thoughts.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really good to reinforce that for kids, because they are the future. The last 2 steps, do you want to talk us through them?
So step 6 is turn envy into inspiration. So envy comes from that scarcity mindset I was just talking about, which is a kind of belief that there isn't enough. So when we feel envy, what we kind of are thinking to ourselves or we're saying to ourselves is, you have something and that might mean less for me. It comes from this scarcity mindset. It's also a sign of what we want more of in our lives and of where we need healing.
Yeah.
Whereas inspiration is the antithesis of this. Inspiration says, you have something and I can have it too. And it comes from this really abundant mindset, and a mindset that there's enough for us all.
Yeah.
And envy is a really natural human emotion. Look at, I'm sure your kids,
Oh, yeah.
When they don't want to share, or if you're giving attention to one, perhaps the other wants it, and it's just natural. And you see it in kids.
When I brought my last newborn baby home from the hospital, I wasn't allowed to go near him until the others were having a nap or whatever, because they all wanted to be on my knee. No one could touch the baby. So yeah, it's a natural thing.
It's natural, but a lot of us feel really embarrassed about feeling it, or we judge ourselves for it. So sometimes when I do workshops, I say to people, it's a room of 1,000 people, and I say, who here gets envious from time to time? And I promise you, about 5 people would raise their hands.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you fucking liars. We all experience envy. It's natural.
Yeah.
And I think it's so difficult, especially now with social media, that to get triggered and to feel that. But when we, don't identify it and we're not aware of it, we're really allowing it to lower our vibration, to kind of feel shit, to feel stuck.
And feel bitter.
Yeah. It makes us feel bad. And so there's always an opportunity for you to change that thought. I think we've said it a couple of times now, you can only have one thought at a time. So start being aware of your envy when you're triggered. Let's say your friends on on Instagram and you see them, on holiday, and you're thinking, oh God, I can't believe they're on holiday again. Instead, you can actually change it to, wow, I can't wait for me to go on holiday as well. It's really reminded me how much I need a break. I'm going to put that place on my vision board. So you can always switch it. Or if you see another, you're single and you see someone getting married and you're like, oh, another person getting married, switch that to, God, I can't wait to be in love. I love love. Yeah. So there's always an opportunity to change that thought. And so I really love this step. It's also about celebrating each other. It's about, really building each other up. I think especially as women, I think it's so important.
Oh, it is. It's so important. And I feel like envy is something you feel definitely when you're younger. I think the older you get, the more you fill yourself with gratitude.
Definitely.
And grateful for the simple things. You are happy for people when you see them doing well or on holiday. Oh my God, they're having a great time.
Yeah.
Hope they have the best time.
It's so true.
I think with all the other things in place, that comes naturally.
Yeah, I think, these 7 steps really, every step helps another.
Oh, they do.
Because like you say, the more grateful you are for your life, the less likely you're going to feel envious.
Of course.
The more that you've worked on removing fear and doubt, the less envy you're going to feel.
Yeah.
So all these steps really work, with it. They all help support each other. And then the last step 7, is trust. trust in the universe. This is about surrender. It's about letting go. It's also about looking for serendipitous moments or coincidences and allowing those moments to show you that the universe is always listening. So let's say, you're thinking about a song and then it plays on the radio, or you're thinking about someone and they text you. See that as a little sign that yes, the things that you think about, the way you behave, it does matter. And I think that as you get into this practice, you become so much more in tune with yourself. You have so much more self-awareness. You feel happier. I mean, these 7 steps have truly changed my life. And, I'm so happy that they've changed so many other people's lives as well.
Well, they have. There's thousands of people who come to watch you talk. You've got a #1 book out. So people are relating to it and it's working for them, and that's incredible. If you can change one person's perspective on their life and perspective on their self-worth, that's amazing. And you're doing it for so many, including me.
Oh,
so
thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, that's so kind.
No, it's true. So looking back on your journey so far, do you think you would be where you are now without manifesting?
No, not a chance. It really, I've probably talked about manifesting thousands of times over the last few years. And every time I talk about it, I still feel just as passionate as the first time, because I truly believe it's finding this practice that has changed everything in my life. And I think everyone deserves to feel better. And I know how hard life can feel and how exhausting it can feel. And I know that your mental health can be, if you have poor mental health and you're suffering from depression, anxiety, addiction, it is a really hard place to be. It doesn't matter what you have externally. If your mind is not right, nothing feels good. Nothing can make you happy. So to find a practice that really is about feeling better is just so incredible.
Do you ever look back at your darkest moments and compare it to now and think, oh my God, how have I gone from there to there?
It's like 2 different lives. I keep feeling, I'm turning 34 in a couple of next month, and I really feel like my life's just begun.
Yeah.
Really, I'm like, oh my God, shit, I've just started.
Amazing. What an incredible place to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can restart your life at any time. At any time.
Do you think if you hadn't have reached rock bottom, you would have been on this journey?
No, I think everything had to happen the way it did for me to get to where I am.
And to help so many other people.
Yeah, and I think that for a lot of people, we do learn from all of our experiences.
Yeah.
We learn the most about ourselves through the tough times. So I'm so glad that they all happened. And, I love listening to people's life stories and the things that people can go through and come out of. It's extraordinary. I think humans are amazing.
They are. That's the whole reason I've done this podcast. There's so many incredible people from all different walks of life with their own story who God knows how they manage to pick themselves back up and reach the top of their game.
Yeah.
Because some people, open the fridge, bottle of milk falls on the floor. People can't even pick themselves up from that. So testament to you all. So what's next?
Oh, what's next? I've got another book coming next year, so I'm writing that at the moment. I've got some live shows in Manchester and Dublin in September, which I just love the live shows.
Yeah. Where's your best audience?
Well, I've only done London so far and Dublin. This is going to be my first time in Manchester, and I think I love Northerners.
Yeah, the Northerners
guys are
great.
a good time. And I think the audience in Manchester is going to be incredible. It's going to be at Albert Hall. I cannot wait. So, yeah.
So, no, Roxy, I just want to thank you for coming on. I think you are an incredible inspiration for so many people, to the point I definitely was a bit skeptical before I read your book, but now there are things that I do every single day from your book that has definitely helped me with my confidence, helped me with my nerves, helped stop me catastrophizing things, and just being like a calmer, better version of myself. So thank you for that. And thanks for coming on today. But before you go, I just want you to leave us with a mantra that you live by day to day.
My favorite affirmation or mantra is I am enough. I have always been enough.
Yeah.
I love that one. I cried the first time I heard that. I think it's a beautiful one.
Amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so
Roxie
much.